you don't bulk by accident. Like that takes years. You're not going to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I have so much muscle all of a sudden. Like it takes time.
Welcome to the Empower Podcast, where wellness meets real life and empowerment becomes your way of being. I'm your host, Sam. Hi guys, welcome back. Today on the show, we're chatting with Dr. Shannon Ritchey, a doctor of physical therapy, fitness expert, and the founder of Evlo Fitness, an online fitness platform that takes the guesswork out of working out. Shannon's been teaching fitness and training for over 12 years, and she's all about helping people build strength in a way that's gentle, effective, and sustainable. In this episode, we cover a ton, from working out while pregnant to common fitness myths to body recomposition and the debate around lifting heavy versus lifting light. It's a super insightful conversation, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. So let's get into it. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been so excited about this podcast episode because I've been following you for a while. And I think I initially found you. You popped up on my reels. It was like one podcast that you did. And you were just like, first off, I was like, who is this beautiful woman just spitting out all of these stats? Looks amazing. But what I really like about you is that you're not just in the fitness space, like showing us how to do it, but you're bringing the science to the front, which is so important. So I would love to know, for my listeners that maybe don't know of you, Dr. Shannon Ritchey, amazing. Tell us a little bit about where this passion started and how you turned it into a career.
Thank you so much for having me and complimenting me. Wow, so good. I'm like 8 months pregnant. I'm like, don't feel like myself.
By the way, guys, she's 8 months pregnant here, like claps for her because you're amazing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm very lucky to have smooth pregnancies. So I am happy to be here. I'm so excited to be here. The science is really important to me because I have a history of over-exercising, overdoing it, slamming my body into the ground, thinking that that's what I had to do to like be fit. And I've always liked teaching fitness classes. I've taught since like 2010. So I've been in the industry for a long time teaching, and I've always loved it. It's always been so much fun. But I've had this pressure on myself to like look a certain way because I am in the industry. And with that came an unhealthy relationship with exercise, where I was working out at least for an hour every single day. If I didn't sweat, if I didn't burn X amount of calories, if I didn't like feel sore the next day, all of those things, then it wasn't enough and I wasn't doing enough. If I took a recovery day or a day off exercise, like I felt guilty the whole day and couldn't just like enjoy. Or if I went on vacation, I felt guilty the whole time. And it was really such a burden. And that burden was not only mental, but physical. It resulted in a bunch of chronic pain from just like slamming my body into the ground. When I was 24 years old, I had chronic pain pretty much all over my body, my wrists, my back, my hips, my shoulders, my neck. And I was in physical therapy every week. I was getting massages all the time. I was doing all the things that are supposed to put you back together and help you. And yet I was still returning back to that routine that was breaking me down. So it was like a root cause thing. Like I wasn't removing the root cause that was ultimately tearing my body up. And so I never got better. And by the way, this is like when I was in physical therapy school, like learning all of the science and just still kind of ignoring it.
Sure.
And it wasn't until I moved across the country that I stopped exercising for like a couple weeks because we were just moving. Like I just didn't have a new routine yet in place. And I felt better than ever. My chronic pain, like my body didn't hurt. I was waking up feeling fresh. I was like, what's going on? Like, this isn't right. Is this? Like, yeah, I was like, oh, like I thought it was my body that was the issue the whole time. Like I had all these therapists telling me like, oh, your glutes are weak. Your hip flexors are tight.
You need to work harder on developing these muscles, right?
Your core, you need to do more core work. You need to do more. When really I just needed to do less but better. And so I ultimately dove into the research of like, what I am not alone in this. I was treating so many women who were in their 30s, young women who felt the same way. They felt like they were living in a 90-year-old's body. And it's because of that societal conditioning of like, you have to grind your body into the ground in order to see results. So I was not alone. So I was like, okay, how can I create something that is going to be effective, but also not hurt and not make you feel so broken down. So I dove into the research, I learned all about the physics of exercise, more of the physiology of exercise, how our bodies adapt, like what stimulus do we actually need and what can we leave behind? And that's ultimately how Evlo was born. It's evolved a lot since then. So Evlo, we created it in 2020, and it's evolved a lot since then as I've learned more and as I've understood the science more. And now we're at a place where, I work out less than half the amount of time that I did then.
I was about to say, walk us through what your workout routine is. I know it's probably like different right now being pregnant, maybe a little bit. It's actually
pretty much the same
as
pre-pregnancy. So I have been doing this for years. So 5 lifting workouts a week, 35 minutes long. So
doesn't have to be long.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah. And hypertrophy, like in muscle growth, is all about the stimulus. It's not about the length of time. So if you are giving your body the proper stimulus, your workouts don't need to be long. You just need to eat correctly and lift enough. And that's all you need. So I do that, and then I walk daily, and I take our steady state class, which is like a light to moderate intensity cardio class. And that's it. I mean, prior to pregnancy, I guess the only thing that I've changed is I was doing HIIT once a week. So like a 15-minute HIIT class on the Evlo membership once a week. That's it. So, and then I just removed that during pregnancy. You don't have to. You can keep doing it during pregnancy, but I'll add that back. But that's it. That's the only change. Yeah.
Well, that just shows you. So and I've heard that too, like if you have been lifting a certain way prior to pregnancy, like, and your body's used to that, like you can continue that most of the time, correct?
You totally can. You absolutely can. I get this question a lot. Like, do I need to lift lighter when I find out I'm pregnant? Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. There are studies that show that women can lift up to 70% of their 1 rep max or even more, which is, in that moderate to heavy range throughout their entire pregnancy. And it's actually extremely beneficial. And women can also try new things and do new things during pregnancy as long as you're progressing appropriately, as long as you're not going from nothing to all of a sudden I'm working out for 60 minutes every single day and it's super hard and intense. If you're like slowly easing into it, you can absolutely start new things during pregnancy. I think that the advice is overly conservative, and it makes sense as to why it's overly conservative. We would rather women do too little than too much and hurt themselves.
Right.
But for the most part, like you can lift weights and continue to build muscle and strength during pregnancy if you're smart about it.
Right. Oh, that's such good advice. Because I know like I obviously have 2 kids and you have your second one on the way. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like just different thoughts and perspectives when it comes from, obviously like a medical advice too on what you can do while pregnant. And I know that was something that I was fearful about because I was told like, just go on walks. Like you don't need to like lift heavy or do any of that. And it does create that fear, but it's like, it makes sense if your body's used to it. And also like our bodies are designed to be able to go through pregnancy and be strong and be supportive.
Oh, 100%. Like I feel stronger than ever in my second pregnancy. Like in my first pregnancy, I felt stronger than ever. And now I'm even stronger than I was then.
Because you've kept working at it, right?
You stay consistent and you can apply progressive overload during your pregnancy. There's no reason why you couldn't. As long as I think like the biggest risk is pelvic floor dysfunction, but that comes if you're bearing down when you're lifting, you're not breathing correctly, or if you're not recovering correctly, or if you're ignoring symptoms. But if you're doing if you're lifting correctly during pregnancy, you can absolutely continue to progress. It's like the most empowering thing to grow a human and then also get stronger in your own body at the same time. It's the
best feeling.
It's so cool. And then the beauty is you're going to take time off when you deliver the baby, like 6 weeks, or more is usually what doctors recommend. So you might lose some strength and some muscle during that time. But if you've spent 9 months developing it, when you get back to it, it's going to be so much easier to get back to.
And I completely agree with that. So with my second pregnancy, like very similar. I mean, I was strong to my first, but again, like the advice I got from, my provider at the time was just like, don't lift heavy, like don't lift weights, like just take it back a few notches. And I felt weaker. Like I became weaker, did not like quote unquote bounce back or whatever the way I would have maybe liked postpartum. My second pregnancy, I got movement in every day, lift weights, and it was amazing how quickly I came back, but not even like quickly, but just like how strong I felt from the start of delivery onward throughout my postpartum journey.
Totally.
because your body's conditioned in that sense.
Totally. It's like you're spending 9 months either deconditioning or you're spending 9 months conditioning. And it's like training for something, right? It's like if you are sitting on the couch and not doing much movement, which honestly a lot of is kind of recommended, like take care of yourself. 100% take care of yourself. Not saying that. Not saying grind your body into the ground. But you can exercise gently but consistently.
Absolutely.
And take care of yourself at the same time. In fact, like I do think that exercising and lifting during pregnancy helps with your energy levels. And the whole thing compounds, right? Because like the more active you are, the better you feel, the higher your energy, the more you want to work out, versus the other way around, the less you work out, the lower energy you have, the less you want to work out. So it's like you kind of got to pick your route.
Yeah. And I felt that too my second pregnancy. I was like, my energy's better. And it makes sense why. Like
Yes.
I'm moving more, right? Take me through what that journey looked like for you from a body comp standpoint when you started not lifting as much and just kind of listening to your body more, like during that journey.
Yes. So when I went from my like over exercise days to backing off, I was doing like, for context, I was doing like group fitness classes. So like lots of like cardio based,
Like Orange Theory, like things like that.
like
Okay.
similar. Yeah. Like lighter weight, like lightweight, high rep, like really intense, like hit sort of style, like sweaty, like that kind of thing. And I thought that's like what was effective for body composition. And then I went from that to like more just straight lifting and adding in and lacing in the cardio supplementary. And so what happened was around the same time, I also got off Adderall. So I was prescribed Adderall for like 5 years. This is something I don't talk about a ton publicly. I was prescribed Adderall. I was taking Adderall and very much undereating, like undereating.
Well, makes sense. I feel like it curbs your appetite.
Yes.
So.
Undereating, over exercising. The undereating, I'm sure, contributed to the chronic pain and the feeling broken down and everything. And so once I got off of that, my hunger came back. So I started eating a lot more, but my chronic pain was gone. And so I had a little bit of a time period where I gained a little bit of fat, not a lot, because I had changed my diet. And then I went through in 2022, I was like, okay, I want to try to body recomposition. So I didn't change my workouts at all. All I did was change my diet, and I gained about 8 pounds of muscle that year and lost about 5 pounds of fat from changing my diet. And lifting close to failure and doing the right things in my workouts. So that year I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt better than ever, right? Like my body didn't hurt. Like I wasn't doing the same workouts that I'm doing today. So it just goes to show that diet is so important. And we were talking offline, like I'm not formally trained in nutrition. So I tried to leave that to the experts, but I also think it's important not to say exercise is everything, because it's really not. I mean, diet is such a huge part of it. I think people over rely on exercise for fat loss and weight loss when we see from the studies that it has very little effect on fat loss and weight loss. So I think it makes people overwork and not recover. And then they feel horrible and they're like, why am I not seeing results? Like, this is so frustrating.
Right. I know I talked to you about that earlier too, of like, I am such the mindset of like, you cannot outwork a bad diet. And with my clients, like that's the same approach I take, is that I don't offer just like fitness programming by itself. Cause I'm like, we've got to make sure like the nutrition is dialed in. Now, when you pair that with proper movement, the results are amazing.
The results are, but you need both. You do need both.
It's so important. Okay. I want to talk about body recomposition. Can you kind of walk us through what that is, what is involved, just for the listeners that maybe aren't familiar with it?
So body recomposition is losing fat while you're building muscle. It's the process that I went through in 2022. It tends to be a slower process, but I like that it's than just straight fat loss or weight loss, because you also are building muscle at the same time.
And it takes a longer time to build muscle than lose fat, correct?
You can lose, if you just lose straight weight by a calorie deficit, you could do that through a calorie deficit and not even exercise, right? Like you could just eat less.
Nutrition.
And but if you are not properly strength training and eating enough protein, you will lose both fat and muscle, which is an issue because we're losing muscle already as we age. So we want to keep as much muscle as possible, at least maintain the muscle that we have. And that involves proper strength training and proper stimulus. People think maintenance is like a whole confused thing. People think like, oh, I'm just going to go like on walks and that'll be enough to maintain, or I'm just going to go to like lightweight class and that'll be enough to maintain. What we see is you actually have to train very similarly to to build muscle as you do to maintain muscle. So it is a longer process. But the reason why I like it that way, I like body recomposition as a goal, is because you have to be slow and steady and you have to sustain it. And because of that, you can't underfuel, you have to recover properly, you can't overexercise. And so you create these really sustainable, healthy habits. So that's why I like it. You're not in a rush.
And you become consistent.
You become consistent. You're like, I know that I'm going to take this whole year to accomplish this goal. And after a whole year of applying things, like that's now your new lifestyle going forward that you can sustain for the rest of your life. So I really like body recomposition as a goal, but it does involve understanding your food. And for me, I started tracking my food. I had tracked in the past, but I wasn't looking at like my protein and things like that. I was just like looking at calories.
Right.
And calories are important, right? Like
the macros are everything when it comes to body recomp.
Totally.
Right?
Enough protein is crucial. And so when I started tracking, I noticed that I was eating about half the amount of protein that I should to build muscle. And so all I did was I doubled my protein. I ate around my calorie maintenance, maybe in a slight calorie deficit, like 100 to 200 calories per day, maybe. And was able to gain muscle and lose fat with combined with my workouts.
How did you notice the way you felt throughout that process? Did you feel better?
Oh, yeah. I was more consciously eating. I was unknowingly eating in a calorie surplus.
Okay.
I was eating quote unquote clean. And I think this is a question I get from a lot of people. They're like, I eat so clean and yet I'm still gaining weight. And it's like, well, the laws of thermodynamics are the laws of thermodynamics, energy in, energy out. And so you just can't beat that. I've seen content on the internet saying like, that's not true.
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like it's just, energy can't be created or destroyed, right? So it's like, if you are gaining weight or if you're not losing weight, then you're not in a calorie deficit. That's a lot like how I felt. Like I was eating clean, but I was eating in more of a surplus.
Do you think it was like the fats or the carbs because we know from like a calorie breakdown, like fats have more calories.
Right.
I've seen that with my clients. It's like a lot of the times we just overeat in those fats.
I think that's what it was for me. I think I was just like my portions. So I would have, I ate like a lot of like salmon and avocado and rice. And I think like I just, the portions of the carbs and the fats were just too much.
Right. So now it's just like, during that process, it was just focusing really on the protein and then like building around that for you.
Yes. For me, it was the protein and understanding like, I really started to think about protein first. So like, okay, my 3 main meals for the day, what are the proteins going to be in those meals? And then from there, I didn't worry about where my carbs were and where my fats were. I just focused on protein, and then the excess calories left were just like went to carbs and fat. However,
I feel like that's the way to do it too, because I'm like so big on protein. Like I feel like anybody that listens to me notices that obviously there's a place for carbs and fat. And depending on where you're at in your, fitness journey, if you're an athlete, like carbs are so important to restore those glycogen stores.
Yeah.
Fats are important for hormone reproduction, all of the things. But protein is everything. And I noticed I myself, like when I started prioritizing protein, like my energy was so much better, but also I was fuller and more satisfied for longer periods of time. Therefore, kind of same to you. Like, I think I was like eating in a caloric surplus before like my body recomp. I found that I was less hungry and craving those things that would put me over.
Totally. I think that happened to me too. But I mean, honestly, like, let's be real. I still got like hungry. Like, it's like, and I used to think that like hunger was bad. You should never be hungry. Like you should always be eating so that you never feel that. And I've since like kind of learned like, oh, hunger is a good thing. Like hunger is telling us like, oh, it's time to eat. It's time to eat. And I've been through a whole food journey of like using it as emotional numbing and using it as like, when I grew up, I don't know how you were raised, but it was like food, you're sad. Let's go get ice cream. Something great happened. Let's go get ice cream. You're bored. Let's eat some ice cream. It's just like, it was like
almost like a reward for a certain emotional spots.
Yes, to get you out of whatever
Right.
emotion you're feeling and whatever hardship you're going through was food. And I think that that's really common. I think we use food as a way to emotionally numb. That's why nutrition can be so tricky.
It really can be. And I feel like my upbringing was more like restrictive of food. Like my followers know I developed like an eating disorder, which I personally haven't publicly talked about yet, which I definitely want to, because I think a lot of people either struggle with ED or body dysmorphia as a whole, like so many of us. And a lot of it is rooted through how we were brought up in our childhood and like the trauma that maybe we don't realize we have from that. That's like created the way we look at food. But I think that once we start looking at food as being a way to fuel to live versus living for the food, it's like, it recreates purpose.
And that's so much easier said than done. Like, I think that takes years. And that's something that I'm still working on to this day. Like, it's not something that happened overnight. But for me, I know some people for tracking, like, isn't for them. Like, they feel like they spiral and
it's too
like,
much.
I get that. I totally get that. For me, my experience has been, it brought a whole new awareness around food, because I feel like I was unconsciously eating to like, just like, get it down or just like shove it down or feel better. Basically, I was eating to feel better. The awareness around like, what do I want to eat on purpose? And like, how do I want it to taste and things like that. And then once I got like some of the basics down, now sometimes I still sometimes track, even being pregnant, not every day religiously, but I'll just be like,
everyone
where
just
am I
like
at?
check in.
Yeah. Especially as the trimesters go on, to be like, okay, where am I? Because you have to eat more as you go on in pregnancy. And so it's like, okay, where am I at? And usually, you get more intuitive the more you understand food, and like the more I've tracked, the more intuitive I've gotten around it.
And it just kind of becomes like second nature.
It does.
And that's the thing too, like when it comes to macros, I'm big on macros. I always tell my clients, like, tracking doesn't have to be something you do for the rest of your life.
No.
Like, it's a tool in your toolkit that you can bring out when needed to help you just be more aware. Like, I love how you said awareness, like aware of your day-to-day food intake.
Yes.
And like maybe where you need to change to fuel your body more and to be more aligned with your body. So I think it's a great tool, but
I think
again,
so
not
too.
for everyone.
I agree. I totally agree.
Today's episode is brought to you by Dream Recovery, the ultimate brand for optimizing your rest and recovery. As someone who is about creating a healthy balance in all areas of their health, I know how much good sleep transforms your performance in your everyday life, and Dream Recovery takes it to the next level. Dream Recovery's innovative products are designed to help you wake up feeling like your best self, whether it's their Dream Strips, which I personally use every night, that help you breathe better and sleep deeper, or their Dream Tape Plus, infused with anti-aging skincare to promote nasal breathing and glowing skin. This brand is all about helping you feel refreshed, restored, and ready to conquer the day. I personally thought mouth tape was just a trend, but decided to try it out anyways. And I kid you not, you guys, after a few nights of using it, I noticed my sleep improved and my energy increased. I really could see the difference on my Garmin watch and saw my REM and deep sleep cycles lengthen, which was wild to me. Bonus, if your partner snores, slap some mouth tape on them, because Ian even stopped snoring. I love that Dream Recovery's mission is rooted in the idea of awakening our full potential, because when we sleep better, we do better. So whether you're an athlete, a busy parent, or just someone trying to prioritize wellness, Dream Recovery has the tools you need to level up your recovery game. Visit dreamrecovery.io and use the code SAM15 at checkout. Okay, so what I really love about just kind of like your motto of the business that you've built is building muscle through gentle consistency. So can you kind of break down what that means to you and like what that looks like?
I think understanding the science of this truly helps you change your mindset, and it helped me change my mindset around just endlessly exercising and endlessly trying to burn calories. When you realize that doesn't actually work and that's not how our physiology works, your mindset shifts and then you change. And then that is the light bulb moment that your eyes are open and you can't go back. So one of the things that's really helped me is understanding the science of building muscle, but then understanding that our bodies require recovery and rest. And I know that like rest and recovery is like, so people are like, yeah, I know that's important. No, it's crucial. If you are stimulating your glutes, let's say, and you are training close to failure in your glutes, you're lifting enough, after that glute day, you will need around 48 hours of recovery before you work your glutes again. And this is because there's an inflammation process, there is a process of repair and healing. And during that time, we don't want to interrupt that repair and healing. And if we do, then we're kind of starting it over again. So we're not actually laying down the new muscle tissue. And so giving your body that time to rest and recover is not only will it make you feel better, but it's crucial for results. So I like to think about A, recovery is important. And then B, we know that building muscle it can happen in a matter of like 8 to 12 weeks. You can start to see noticeable muscle changes in 8 to 12 weeks. But really substantial lean mass development is a years-long process. So we know that, okay, this isn't just like a 90-day challenge, a 75-day challenge. This is like what I'm going to have to do for the rest of my life. And so in order to make that sustainable, you have to be gentle on yourself. We're real-life human beings. Some days we're going to be sick. Some days we're going to be so swamped and busy. Some days we're going to be not motivated. And so if you meet yourself where you're at and just do something, and maybe you were planning to do 4 sets of glutes that day, you just do 1 set. 1 set, I'm going to do enough to maintain. I'm going to do enough to just keep myself in the game, and I'm going to move on. And that's going to be that. So that's that gentle consistency approach. I think if you view your workouts as, and we're so conditioned to view our workouts as like no pain, no gain, like 110%, give it your all. We are conditioned that if I can't do that, why bother? But that's not how our physiology works. Our physiology wants consistency. So that's where gentle consistency comes
love everything you said. I'm like, okay, I want to talk about this and this and this just from the past like couple minutes of you talking. But with the consistency part, I think is huge. This day and age with social media, it's like we see all of these athletes or fitness influencers that look a certain way. And it's like, how do I achieve that, right? As a viewer. When in reality, a lot of the times, like this is years of work.
Yes. Oh, 100%. And that's what people don't understand. And that's like the whole bulky conversation.
Yes.
Is like, you don't bulk by accident. Like that
it's hard to bulk.
Years. Yes. Yes.
It takes time.
You're not going to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I have so much muscle all of a sudden. Like it takes time.
Okay. Which I want to talk about that. Like just removing the mindset of like lifting makes you bulky. I'm all about heavy lifting, and I love that you're on here too, because I think that you bring such a great perspective that like heavy lifting is not the only way.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that. But like, why should we not be fearful as women to lift weights in the fear of bulking up?
This is such a nuanced conversation because every time someone on the internet says like, oh, women don't get bulky, there are flooded with comments of saying like, well, that was my experience. Why did that happen to me? Why did I get bulky?
I've gotten this comments posting about that.
If I look at the physiology of it and what we were just talking about, like it takes years to build substantial amount of muscle mass. And so I kind of like dove into it. I was like, well, why are people experiencing this? What's going on? And what I kind of realized is that women can feel bigger from strength training, but that tends to happen because they are eating in a calorie surplus and also gaining fat. So they're gaining mass overall. And it's great because their body composition is technically improving because they're gaining lean mass, but they're also either not losing fat mass or they're gaining fat mass at the same time. So they feel bigger. Whereas if they were body recompositioning, which is, not everybody's journey, like I understand that's not everybody's goal, but if your goal is to like, I hate this word, but like look toned or look sculpted.
Which
like,
really is just reducing body fat.
It's body recomposition.
Building lean muscle, right.
It's body recomposition. So if that's your goal, we have to pair diet with exercise. And if you're seeing like, okay, I'm not losing fat, like let's look at your diet. Let's look at how we can, hone that in a little bit more while you're building the muscle. So I think that's where the bulkiness comes from. I think, again, people rely too much on their workouts. And weightlifting is now getting branded as making you leaner, which weightlifting over time can have a indirect effect on leanness because it improves your metabolic health. But that's going to be like over time. That's not going to be right away. But weightlifting is getting this stigma now of like, not only does it help you look more defined, but it also helps you lose fat. And that's not necessarily true. What's really going to help you lose fat is diet. So I think that if women are experiencing that bulkiness, like that's probably what's happening.
So would you suggest tracking like body comp stats throughout that journey too, with like DEXA scans or InBody, like to see like that breakdown?
I do. I think, again, it depends on your personality, and you have to know yourself and know, like, am I going to spiral about the fat content or whatever? But having a baseline of knowing like, okay, this is where my muscle mass is, and then maybe getting them every quarter or every 6 months or something to kind of see like where you're at. I also think, you don't necessarily even need, because I get a lot of questions like, I don't have access to that or whatever. Like, I can't get one of those. You can, if you're getting stronger and you're lifting heavier weights over time, you're probably building muscle. And you can also see by how your clothes fit and the muscle definition that you physically see. So you don't necessarily have to go get a DEXA scan, but it can be helpful to kind of know where you're at in your progress.
Right. I have such mixed emotions when it comes to the scale.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't recommend. Yeah.
Right.
I don't recommend solely
like,
going on that.
You can be the same weight and work on body recomp and look completely different.
Oh, I gained weight when I body recomped.
Literally same.
Yeah. I
but
weighed
dropped
more.
Probably in
but
pant
I dropped like
size
2 pant sizes.
Yeah, literally same. I said that on the podcast yesterday. I was like, I dropped 2 pant sizes and now way more. And I think that we as women are conditioned in that sense, like brought up with like Cosmopolitan and Glamour being like how to, lose weight, and like the runway model era, growing up, to where it's like, we need to be skinny. We need to only weigh this amount. And it's like, there's so much more to that. And I think it's hard sometimes removing that stigma, but it's like, we have to move past that, because it's, the way you feel in your clothes is so much more important than what that scale weight
totally
says.
And sometimes it's just like, okay, just commit to it for 1 year. Just tell and listen, and if you don't like your results after a year, fine. But I guarantee you're going to feel so like your eyes are going to be open and you're never going to go back.
Right.
Again, I know we're talking about like the aesthetics of it. And I think the aesthetics of body recomposition get demonized sometimes in like the body positive world. And I don't think we need to demonize that either. I don't think we need to obsess over it. Like, I don't think we need to be so obsessive over like, oh, I have fat in this area, because I'll get DMs like that. Like, how do I get rid of fat on my thighs? How do I get rid of fat on my arms? Like, I don't think we need to be like that. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with like wanting to like look your best.
Not at all.
But like the other benefits are what are going to keep you coming back. Like how good you feel, how much more energy you have.
And it's the strength aspect. And that's what I always say too, is like, if you have a mission of just like being in your strongest state and like fueling yourself well nutritionally, prioritizing protein, all the things, it's like the aesthetics will come with that.
Yeah.
Right. And being so intentional with movement, like the aesthetics will follow that. It's just naturally going to happen that way. But like the way you feel is the best ever.
Oh yeah.
I weigh about probably 6 to 8 pounds heavier than I did a year and a half ago. I ran a marathon. Long story short, I know a lot of my listeners know this, ran a marathon, was going through a really hard time, did not eat nutritionally probably the way I should have, lost a lot of weight, low body fat, but did not have any muscle. So like I kind of went through my own body recomp journey and have never felt stronger. Yes, I weigh more, but like the amount that my lean muscle mass like shot up was insane. And it's like, I would rather be where I'm at now than like way less. And
you know
totally.
What I mean?
It's like the strength aspect. You just feel so good.
Oh,
you can't beat that.
You can't beat that. Once you start to see that like muscle definition and you're like, oh, I can pick up things with like no problem.
You want to keep going.
It's
like addicting.
It's so cool.
So we talked about the bulky side of things. Let's talk about building lean muscle mass and the different ways you can do that. Because like, I obviously am like a big believer in like heavy lifting. And I think I just noticed how I've felt and the body comp that I built from that. But I love your side of things, because you're like, you can also build lean muscle mass and not lift crazy amount of weight. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
I also have grown to love lifting heavier. I've not always been that way. And heavier, I still lift like moderate rep ranges. Like my preference is like 8 to 15 reps.
Okay.
But what's really interesting is there's all this information online from well-educated experts saying women need to lift heavy. Women need to lift 6 reps, 4 reps with heavy weights in order to see their body change. And especially as women are approaching perimenopause, they need to start lifting heavier. They need to lift for low reps. And what we see from the data is That works, certainly, but it's not the only way. You can lift anywhere from 6 all the way up to 30 reps. So if you're lifting 30 reps, that's relatively lightweight. As long as you get to failure or 1 to 3-ish reps shy of failure, that anywhere in between can build the same amount of muscle and strength, no matter your gender or age.
And what does that mean for the listeners that don't know lifting to the point of failure?
Yes. So failure and fatigue are very different. And this is something that I get questions about. Well, I get to failure in bar class. Well, you might be getting to fatigue, but not failure. So failure means you're incapable of completing another rep despite your best efforts. Like it's like, okay, I'm trying as hard as I can to complete this bicep curl, but I physically cannot lift the weight. A really good rule of thumb is if you're wondering if you are to failure or if you're 1 to 3 reps shy of failure, set the weight down, take a break, shake it out, and then try again. If you're still like, nope, still can't do it, then you probably were close to failure or at failure.
Oh, that's great advice.
And the reason for that is because the reason that failure or close to failure in 30 reps or less is so important for stimulating muscle growth is that it stimulates your fast twitch muscle or your larger muscle fibers. And these larger muscle fibers are your powerful muscle fibers. They're only kicked on when your body's like, okay, we can't do this with our smaller muscle fibers. We need the larger muscle fibers to come in and join. And so stimulating those larger muscle fibers is key for muscle growth. But those larger muscle fibers take at least a minute or maybe longer to recover. Whereas your smaller muscle fibers, your type 1 muscle fibers, your endurance fibers that tend to be recruited with higher rep training that burns or like that makes you shake and that's like really hard, those muscle fibers recover within seconds. So if you were to set the weight down and keep going, you probably weren't recruiting those higher motor unit fibers, those type 2 muscle fibers. So getting close to failure is really important. People mistake fatigue and failure. People think, oh, this burns. Like I'm doing arm circles for 3 minutes. Like, oh, I gotta take a break because it burns so much. But I can keep going after a few seconds, rest. So that's fatigue. That's not failure. And the reason why, again, that's not super effective is just, it's not a strong enough stimulus to cause adaptation and change in your body. So all this to say, you can lift the heavy weights 6 reps-ish, as long as that final rep is really hard, you're either at failure or you're close to failure, that will build muscle. You could lift relatively lighter weights for 25, 30 reps. As long as that last rep is really, really hard, it can build the same amount of muscle as the heavier weight. So I think it's important for women to understand this because most women are not weight training. And so if we think there's only one way and I have to go squat heavy weights for 6 reps in order to see any change in my body, I really don't want to do that. Like I really hate that type of training, or I've gotten injured in the past. They're not going to do it. Versus if they're like, oh, I could handle doing 20 reps with slightly lighter weights and different exercises. And as long as those last few reps are hard, like it'll build muscle, like that's what I can stay consistent with. Having options is important.
Does lifting heavy weights versus maybe lower weight, more reps, there a different pace, like time-wise, of building that lean muscle mass, or is it both the same?
Exact same.
Wow.
The research shows it is the exact same. You could do 6 reps, 30 reps, as long as you get close to failure. It's almost the exact same. A little differences in strength. So you might see more strength from lower rep training with higher weight, but you still see substantial strength increases with slightly lighter weight and higher reps. So you're still going to get benefits, but muscle growth, exact same.
So for somebody that's listening, that's like, okay, I want to like go to the gym. I don't know which route to take. Like, does it depend on the type of person, depending on like what style of weight training they want? Preference. Is there benefits one versus the other that you've seen?
So yes, I do think that if you're a beginner, especially, you might just be like, I just feel more comfortable in the higher rep range with slightly lighter weights. Fine, great, amazing. Now, I think the more you get into lifting, the more you gravitate towards the lower reps and the heavier weights, which I've seen for myself for sure. And it's because you realize the higher reps do burn more. They're more uncomfortable. Versus a 6 rep set, you're probably not going to feel any burn. But that 6 rep set will build the same amount of muscle as the set that burned more. It's like you kind of have to choose what you prefer. Another reason why lower rep training might be advantageous for someone is that it causes less fatigue. So it's, again, the sets are a little less uncomfortable and it causes less fatigue. So that might allow you to give it your all throughout the whole workout versus really fatiguing yourself.
And really needing that like rest time in between.
Yeah.
Do you need like the same amount of rest days,
Yes.
recovery days as if you were like heavy lifting?
Yes.
Okay.
Same amount of rest, same amount, pretty much all the same rules apply. Yeah. So 48-ish hours in between working a muscle group.
Hey guys, okay, quick break because I'm so excited to share a product that's become a go-to of my evening wind down routine, Bon Charge. That's spelled in all caps and pronounced Bon Charge. They're a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to help you sleep better, recover faster, boost energy, reduce inflammation, and support your body in a really natural, impactful way. From red light therapy to EMF protection and circadian-friendly lighting, Bon Charge blends science with nature, and it shows. The product I've been using pretty much every evening is their red light face mask. You guys know I'm really into recovery, rest, and protecting my circadian rhythm this season, and I've been more intentional than ever about how I end my days and keeping my evenings as tech-free as possible, prioritizing deep sleep and supporting my skin from the inside out. And I've always loved red light therapy, but I was on the hunt for a face mask that met my standards. And if you know me, you know I research pretty much everything. The Bon Charge red light face mask checked every single box. I use it for 10 to 20 minutes in the evening, cleaning up after dinner, tidying downstairs, or just after I get the kids settled for bed. It's super lightweight, does not get hot, and it combines both red and near infrared light to support collagen production, reduce inflammation, and boost overall skin health. And what makes this one different from others? Well, Bon Charge is the only brand that actually removed the blue and green light, which can mess with your melatonin production and throw off your sleep. Their mask has zero EMF radiation, zero flicker, and it's sleek and comfortable to wear. Plus, it comes with a 1-year warranty, which I always appreciate. Since I started using it, my skin has felt brighter and more awake in the mornings, and it's honestly helped me slow down and prioritize real rest. It's become a favorite part of my evening routine as something that feels both indulgent and effective. Bon Charge ships worldwide, and they're trusted by leading health professionals, and all of their products are HSA, FSA eligible, so you can use tax-free dollars to save even more. Here's how to try it. Head to boncharge.com and use my code SAMCFIT15 to save 15% off your order. That's boncharge.com. And the code is SAMCFIT15 for 15% off. One more time, boncharge.com, code SAMCFIT15. Trust me, you guys will love this addition to your wellness routine. Do you see a benefit with heavy lifting from a like metabolic cardiovascular standpoint?
I think it's in the margins, honestly. It's like if you're developing strength and muscle, like that's
you're in a good spot. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to get yourself
this.
there.
And the only reason I asked that is because I've been like using this like at home body comp scale just to kind of like track. And I'm trying to like put on a little bit more lean muscle mass. I like saw my metabolic age and it was like 26. And I was like, amazing.
That's amazing.
But I'm wondering like, cause I obviously like lift really heavy, not to the point of like powerlifting. Like I feel like I'm definitely in that, like that in between, very similar to you, like that 8 to 15 rep. Sometimes with 4 sets, I go down to 6 and really test myself, but I also have to listen to my body on days like that. But I'm like, is it the heavier lifting that got me to that point? Or if I was like doing Pilates, like with smaller weights?
I think it's that you're building strength and muscle mass and you're giving your body that potent stimulus. So I really think that heavy or light, if you're seeing differences in metabolic health, it's probably in the noise. But if you're lifting above the 30 rep range and you're doing really high rep training, that's probably not having the potent stimulus that the lower rep training is.
Right. I love that. Okay. So let's talk about progressive overload because I had never done any kind of programming with fitness, progressive overload style until like about 1.5 years ago. And I was like, okay, how have I been living without this? It's so amazing. Such a great tool, especially when it comes to body recomp. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you love about it and why.
Yes. So progressive overload means you're either increasing your weight, the weight that you're lifting, or you're increasing the amount of reps that you're doing with that weight, or for some exercises, you're increasing the range of motion. So certain exercises, you can use body weight and build muscle because you're getting to failure in under that 30 rep range. You can't do that with every body part group just because of physics. Like you have to lift heavy weights for biceps. There's no body weight exercise in which you can get close to failure for biceps, for example.
Right.
So those are typically the 3 ways you can progressively overload, and you can do a combination of all of those things. So you want to make sure over time that you are either increasing your weight, your reps, or your range of motion, depending on the exercise. What I like to say is just get close to failure. And we don't count reps. We teach group fitness classes. And so someone might be doing bicep curls and they might get close to failure in 10 reps versus I might need 15 reps to get close to failure. We can't do the same amount of reps with the same weight because we're different people. So just get close to your failure point every single exercise. And if you're doing that, you will be progressive overloading without even realizing it. You can also count reps if you want and write it down and say like, okay, I could do 15 reps with this weight. So next time I'm going to try to do 16 reps.
Yes.
And you can absolutely do it that way if you want to be more systematic about it. Or if you just want to be like, okay, I'm just, I don't want to think so much. I don't want to have to write things down. Just get close to failure. If you find that you're doing over 30 reps, then you need to go up and weight for sure. I like to go up and weight after I can do like 15 or 18 reps with something. I like to go up and weight. And sometimes I'll just add, like if I'm doing, let's say chest presses, I'll add like 2-pound wrist weights and just, try to get to like.
It doesn't have to be a lot.
No, it doesn't have to be a lot. It does not need to be a lot, and just try to get to 15 reps or something. So
are there any like specific exercises or like muscle groups that you think that we should be more mindful of when it comes to like the amount of weight we're lifting?
That's a really good question because again, I think the fitness industry is so obsessed with the number on your dumbbell. And I think that's important for sure. But again, when we look at the physics of exercise, there are certain movements in which your body weight will be enough to build muscle. And you can really simplify it by just saying, can I do more than 30 reps of this exercise? If so, it's not an effective body weight exercise for muscle growth. Push-ups, great example for most women. Most women cannot do, more than 30 push-ups on their toes. Some can.
Right.
Strong ones can't.
If you can, that's awesome.
Yeah, if you can, that's awesome. But that's a great example of a body weight exercise that will build muscle in the upper body because you can take it close to failure or to failure in under 30 reps. Same with reverse Nordic curls. So for those not familiar, it's where you're kneeling, your upper body is straight and you lean back. I call them matrix because it looks like you're doing like defying gravity.
Good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Just reverse Nordic curls like a mouthful. So you lean back and lift up, and it's to bias the quads. And that exercise is a good example of one in which you can progressively overload by adding range of motion. So the further you go back, the further the lever is to the quad, the more load to the quad. So the further you lean back,
stretching
the harder
those
it
fibers.
Is. Yeah,
okay.
It's adding more resistance to the quad. The quad has to work harder, and you feel it. Like the further you lean back, you're like, oh, I can't get out of this because it gets harder. So that's a great body weight exercise that can build muscle in the quads for a lot of people for a long time. Eventually, they need to add weight.
What about pull-ups? Are you a fan of pull-ups?
Yeah, pull-ups are great. I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
Like
I did my first like unassisted pull-up the other day. And here's the thing, like last year was my goal of like, I'm going to work on my back. Like I feel like I go through these seasons where I'm like, I really want to just get stronger in certain muscle groups. And like, I had no back muscle like last year. And so like the past 6 to 8 months, I've been really working on my back and like doing all the lat pull downs. And I've been doing like unassisted pull-ups here and there, but I did like the Murph challenge with Ian. He's a Navy SEAL. So I was like, got to do it with him.
What is that? What's the Murph challenge?
So the Murph challenge is to honor Michael Murphy, fallen Navy SEAL, on Memorial Day. And basically it's a 1-mile run. And then you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 air squats. And then you finish with another 1-mile run.
All in one
setting.
What?
Yeah. I mean, do you see the calluses? This was from a week ago and they're just now recovering. Like I was bleeding and I was like, I couldn't lift weights for like 3 days. And then when I took dumbbells back, I had to hold them like in the crevice of my fingertips.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This is the opposite of gentle consistency.
Yeah. This goes against everything that you preach. So I'm like, and I felt it. I was like, okay, we got to be a little mindful in the gym next time I go in. But it was insane. But anyways, we did it on the beach. So it's obviously like usually a lot of people do no weight, but Ian being a SEAL, he was like, here's a 14-pound vest. So I also did it with 14 pounds.
Oh,
I couldn't walk the next day.
Gosh.
Luckily, we were in the car driving back from the beach. But with the pull-ups, I was like, I can't do this with the weight. And I was like, just going to go in with the mindset of doing scapular pull-ups. But I ended up doing a few unassisted pull-ups. And I was like, I had never tried it since training my back. Yes. But I'm like, that just shows just body weight, practicing those pull-ups, how much you can really work your back muscles.
Totally.
Or any muscle with body weight.
And yes, exactly. And body weight is again, it depends on the muscle group, because for most people, body weight squats is not going to be enough. They're not going to be able to get close to failure. It's better than nothing, of course. But most people can do more than 30 body weight squats.
Is that where you would say tempo work is important? Pauses and holds and pulses? Do you like to program that with your training?
I do, just for novelty and fun, but it doesn't necessarily change.
Yeah.
You can get close to failure faster. So if you do a partial range rep, so if you a pulse, let's say you're in a lunge and you go down, you drop to the bottom and then you lift up halfway and drop back down. You're probably going to get close to failure sooner. You probably can only do, let's say you could, if you were doing full range, you could do 15 reps. If you're doing partial range, you could only do 12. Okay. It's just because you're not getting that rest at the top of the motion. So it's just a way to get close to failure faster, honestly.
Interesting. Okay. And now when it comes to time length for a progressive overload, is there a good sweet spot you recommend for a program? Or
I like to say just get close to failure in every set and just have that be your main focus, because everyone is a little different. If you said you need to be progressing every single week, well, there's going to be some weeks where you don't feel great, or maybe you are about to start your period and you're just tired and you're like, ugh. And so you push through anyways, and you're not listening to your body, and then you hurt yourself. So yes. I don't know, it's hard. Yeah. It's difficult for me to give a time frame. So I typically don't. I typically just say, just get close to failure.
Yeah. I think that's such good advice too. And when it comes to a lot of the clients I work with as well, it's I'd like to check in with them weekly before I build out their next week. Cause it's how are you feeling? Maybe upper body was easy last week, so we can move up. Or maybe you're still very sore from legs. We need to take things back a notch.
Yeah.
Right. So
totally.
It's we're all different in that sense of what works for one person maybe is not going to work for another. So I love that advice that you gave.
Because I think if you're giving yourself the expectation of, I need to progress every single week, even if I'm super sore, yeah, that's when you get injured, and that's when you sideline yourself. So I like to just say it will happen naturally.
Naturally.
But then sometimes it's okay, I'm not seeing progress, so let's start checking in and let's give myself a goal of going up in weight every month or going up in reps every month. Doesn't have to be overnight. Progressive overload does not need to be on a timeline in order to be effective.
And if they're starting a specific program that's hey, here's a program, progressive overload, is there a good sweet spot as far as how many weeks, 8 to 12, or is there an advantage with shorter or longer?
You will typically see strength increases after about 4 weeks. So you typically see the weights that you were using in week 1 feel light after 4 weeks. And muscle growth typically happens around that 8-week mark. Visible muscle growth tends to happen around that 8 to 12-week mark for most people.
Well, because I guess my thought too is I like to follow certain programs, program. And the way I build my progressive overloads for myself is just every week I'm doing the same exercises on the specific upper body days, lower body days, whatever that may be. And I'm, to your point, changing the stimulus, changing the reps, the weight, depending on how I feel, doing those same exercises for about 8 to 12 weeks. And then I will program something different with maybe some different exercises. Is there in your mind a disadvantage to continuing with the same exercises for X amount of time?
No issue with that. I think we are so obsessed with novelty.
Yeah.
And I think you could technically choose the same exercise forever.
Wow.
And continue to see muscle growth. Now, there is some literature to show that different exercises will build different portions of the muscle. So upper glute versus lower glute and things like that. But I honestly think that that's the marginal change. Those are in the noise. Those are bodybuilders who are I want my upper bicep versus my lower bicep. And I did a podcast episode about that a while back where I really looked into the literature behind that. But I really do think that if you're being wise about exercise selection, you can really just keep the same ones. There's
Right.
no use in, and people think like muscle confusion, I need to mix it up. And that's more for your brain than it is for your body.
That's such good advice. And I am such a believer in like sticking to the basics.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be these crazy, like I feel like sometimes I'll scroll on social media and see the wildest exercises that I'm like,
Yes.
wait, how do you do that?
Oh, I know.
When I'm like, guys, squats, reverse lunges, bicep curls, shoulder press, like keep it simple.
The basics work. And I also think that not every exercise is right for every person. And so when you find an exercise that you're like, this feels amazing in my body, it doesn't give me back pain, I can really connect to the muscle, but I do this other exercise and I feel the opposite. I don't feel connected. My back hurts. I don't feel like I can get close to failure because I'm distracted by like pain. Don't do that one. Do the one that feels good. And you can just rinse and repeat that one over and over. And what's really cool about doing that, choosing the exercises that actually feel good in your body and just ignoring all the other ones, is that eventually you get stronger. And then you can go back to those exercises and a lot of times they'll feel good.
Yes.
Because you've developed strength.
So one of those exercises is Bulgarian split squats for me. Like there's
Oh,
a video
same.
that I really
Yes. I used to hate them and now I love them.
girl, same. And I remember I had a video from like when I first started progressive overload training like a year and a half ago of me doing Bulgarian split squats without weight and could not even like do it. I was like, wait, I can't even sit into my glutes like this. And I was like wobbly. And now I'm using dumbbells.
Stable
just, like,
and strong.
Stable,
and-
strong, pumping
yeah.
them out. And I'm like, that's such a good
Yes.
feeling. Like you cannot beat that feeling.
But you have to meet yourself where you're at because I think there's so many people that are like, force yourself to do the ones that hurt, that the ones that you hate, the ones that you, and it's like, I don't believe in that at all because A, you're not going to be consistent. B, you're not going to push yourself close to failure because you're going to stop because you're bored, you're uncomfortable, you hate the exercise, you're ready for it to be over. You're not going to stop because the muscle's limiting you. You're going to stop for some other reason. So I just say like, I always tell our members, like, you don't have to do exercises you hate. Just leave them
love
behind.
that.
Come
Oh.
back to them later and you'll probably like them later.
That's such good advice. Because again, I think that in the social media world and people are seeking advice, like you look at what one person's doing and think, okay, that's what I need to do.
Yes.
When it's not the case for everybody, like you have to listen to your body. Are there any exercises that you just like are not a fan of for yourself?
Yes, many. Many.
If you had to pick one, what would it be?
The one that's like the hottest topic is squats. Like I don't
Okay.
squat. And I have
Really?
not, I don't squat.
Like no variations.
I do single leg, a lot of
Okay.
single leg stuff.
Do you do goblet squats?
I do, no.
Okay.
I do wall sits. That's the close, and sissy squats.
So let's talk about that. Why is that?
So I did this whole breakdown. I feel like the visual is easier to look at. I just did a post of why I don't
And
squat on my,
I
on
kind of
my
saw that. So I
page.
was like, I want you to
Yes.
talk about it.
Yes, yes. So first of all, I want to acknowledge squats are an effective exercise and we should not be afraid of squats. They're not dangerous. They're not ineffective. There is a ton of body of literature to support, like squats are an effective exercise for strength and muscle. That said, as a former physical therapist and in my own body, so working with, hundreds of people, squatting doesn't feel good for a lot of people. And it's a complex movement. It involves ankle mobility and stability, knee mobility, stability, hip mobility, back, all of it. It really is a full body stabilizing exercise. And when we break down the mechanics of a squat, you tend to have to use a lot of load in order to get close to failure in the glutes. And this is because it's on both legs, you're hinging forward, the back is also involved, and the quads are also involved. And so oftentimes the limiting factor isn't the glutes, it's oftentimes the back, your back. And depending on your body proportion, some people might have to lean forward more. If you have longer legs, you have to lean forward more, which is going to load the back even more. So you might feel like, and this is how I felt, I know I've talked to many people who are the same, limited by some other area than their glutes. Maybe it's their knees, their back.
Mine's my ankles.
Their ankles,
And
yeah.
if I lift too heavy, I can see what do they call that? Where like you tuck?
Oh, like a pronation?
Yes.
Like, yeah. Of your pelvis or of
Yes.
your foot? Okay, yeah. So like,
So I have to be very mindful of that.
yes. And, there's literature to show like, is that actually dangerous? Like there's questions about that too. So, but there's a lot of fear around squats as well. And so if we look at the mechanics of it, what are the goals of the exercise? The goals are to get stronger in the legs, build muscle in the legs, usually. That's the goal of a squat. Can I choose another exercise that feels more comfortable in my body, but also achieves that? And so if we look at the mechanics of, let's say, a step up, The reason why a step up can be less load on the spine is because it's on one leg. So you use less weight. So you have less force to the low back, but you still are getting double the work for the glute. And I drew all this out in case somebody wants to see like on a stick figure.
Post.
Yeah, with like the levers and the moment arms and things like that. And again, you can keep it really simple. Like if I can get close to failure in a step up and I don't feel my back and I feel, mostly legs, like my legs are what's stopping me and not my back, let's choose that exercise. And again, you might be able to come back to squats and feel a lot stronger. But what's the limiting factor? And I think for squats, a lot of times for me, and that's how I herniated a disc in my low back because I used to squat heavy and I did that for years. Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that you had the herniated disc.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. And so I had a lot of fear around squatting for a long time. So that was part of the reason why. And even when I was squatting, I always hated it. Like it's just like, I don't enjoy this exercise at all. So I just stopped doing them and I do other exercises and I've never looked back. And I don't want to demonize it, but I also want to say like,
it's not for everyone.
You have options.
Yeah.
You have options and that's what allows you to stay consistent.
I love that. So with the squats, like I do love like compound movements. Like the squats, the deadlifts, strict press is like my favorite. But with the squats, I don't go super heavy at all. For me, it's really just taking it slow and like activating all of those muscles. Because there was a time where I could feel my way leading to an injury. Quite honestly, I was like, okay, my body's not responding the way I would like. So still do them, very mindful of them. But you mentioned step ups. Like that's like one of my favorites where I really have gained so much strength, but also like the aesthetics came with that too. Like I noticed some body comp changes just doing like some weighted step ups.
Totally.
Which is amazing.
And you don't even have to use a super heavy weight because if you're not using your back foot to push off, like it is all hip. Like that is all glute.
You don't even have to use weight. I feel like
no.
Sometimes I don't, depending on the days.
I didn't at first. If you're not using the back foot and you're just using your body weight, it's like, whoa, like that can be a really challenge. And what's really cool is the kickback I get about not doing squats is people are like, well, how are you going to get off the toilet when you're 90 years old if you're not squatting right now? And it's like, how are you going to be functional? How are you going to bend over and pick something up? When you are training your legs in other ways and you're building muscle and you're building strength in other exercises, that will have transference into a squatting motion. So you will probably find if you don't squat for 6 months and you just do other exercises and you get strong in those other exercises and you come back to the squats, you'll be able to squat more, even though you haven't practiced squatting. So it has transference into other exercise other movements. So I think it's just releasing the idea that there's so much dogma in the fitness industry. Like you have to do these 5 exercises and it's like, it's just not true.
I think there's a place for everything. And depending on the person, it's like, you're going to respond differently to one thing versus what somebody else might. So, completely agree with you on that. So I am going to like play the other side. So compound movements, like you're really bracing with your core and building strength there. And it's like, if you're doing all these exercises and not really focusing on that core, like how do you build that core strength, not doing those like heavy lifting compound movements? Like what's your suggestions for somebody that wants to build that?
Yep. You can brace in any exercise and you should be bracing in any exercise. So you're developing that skill and that strength with a step up as well. I mean, it's a really similar movement a step up is to a squat. You're hinging forward, the hip is hinging back, breathing out through pursed lips and bracing. You're going to see the benefit. I also am a big believer in directly training the trunk. So I believe in directly training all of your muscle groups. I think it's important. So training the trunk directly, so the abs, the obliques, the back, all of that will support your core strength. So you don't necessarily have to do squats to have a strong core.
Mm-hmm. Do you do like additional like ab work, core work? Like, are you a believer in that?
Yes, I do. I don't do it to the marketing of it is like snatch your waist, like whatever. It's like you can absolutely hypertrophy. And of course I'm pregnant now, so I'm not working on hypertrophy of my abdominals right now, but I definitely am doing like stability stuff for my abdominals. But you can absolutely hypertrophy those muscles just like you could with with your glutes or your quads or your biceps. The same exact principles apply. You can train your abdominals close to failure in under 30 reps and hypertrophy those muscles. So
amazing. How often do you suggest training core? Because I feel like people overdo it.
People 100% overdo it. Same exact principles apply. So twice a week on non-consecutive days.
I love that. I do sometimes like 3 times depending on my mental state. For me, it's like
3
core
works
work.
too.
I
Yep.
don't know, but never more than that because
Yeah.
I actually noticed the development was not as good doing more. Like kind of to your point earlier.
It's the same. It's the exact same thing. For some reason, I don't know where this came from. We decided that training abs was different than any other muscle group, and it makes no sense. It's like it's the exact same physiology applies to our abs as does to our shoulders and glutes. So I think people will work abs for 5 minutes straight at the end of every single workout, and that's really not doing much of anything.
Right. No, I love that mindset. It's like the same thing, progressive overload, like muscle failure.
Yep.
Same goes with your abs.
Same exact thing.
Hi guys. Okay, quick break to talk about a product I have literally been using for years, and I am so excited to finally share it with you on this podcast, Branch Basics. Here's the thing. I've tried so many clean, quote unquote, cleaning brands over the years, and nothing compares to this one. I found Branch Basics when I was looking to reduce toxins in my home, especially the stuff we breathe in and put on our skin every single day. The concentrate replaced almost every cleaner I had. I'm talking bathroom, kitchen, glass, laundry, even produce wash. It's just one bottle mixed in different ways, and it does it all. And what really sold me is the ingredient transparency. No fake natural labels. It's made safe, certified, fragrance-free, non-toxic, and every ingredient is listed right on the bottle. As someone who cares deeply about what goes in and around my body, this just gives me so much peace of mind. As someone who cares so deeply about what goes in and around my body, this just gives me so much peace of mind, especially now that I'm more mindful about hormone health and environmental triggers. And if you're a parent like me or have pets, Branch Basics is truly a no-brainer. You're not spraying hormone disruptors and harsh chemicals where your family eats, sleeps, or plays. It's earned a permanent spot in my routine, and honestly, it's replaced every other cleaner under my sink. I even keep a travel size version when I'm on the go and in my car. So if you're ready to clean up your home and your health, head to branchbasics.com and grab their premium starter kit. You'll get 15% off with code EMPOWER, EMPWR, at checkout. That's 15% off your premium starter kit at branchbasics.com with code EMPOWER, EMPWR, because you and your family deserve better. Are there like any top fitness myths that you're like wanting to be debunked that you see? Because like I know I have mine, but like what would be your top like fitness myths that you're like, this is not true, don't listen to it?
I think the obsession with burning calories.
Correlated to
Yes.
lifting or working out?
Not like working out in general. I think people work out to burn calories. And one of the things that completely changed my mindset and changed my life was understanding that our calories burned are constricted, not additive. So have you heard of the constrained total energy expenditure model?
Yeah.
Yeah. Herman Ponzer is like pioneering all of this work where he was looking at hunter-gatherer societies and thinking that these people who are super active all day long must be burning thousands and thousands and thousands of calories. But what he found is after measuring them using doubly labeled water, which is like the gold standard for measuring energy expenditure, they burn about the same amount of calories as the average American does. And the average American is doing far less activity than these people are. So he was like, what is that about? So after some research, what he discovered is that the amount of calories we burn, we don't just endlessly burn calories. The more activity we add, our body tends to plateau. And we think that this might be an evolutionary mechanism to conserve energy so that we have energy left if we're in an emergency where we need to fight or flight. So we burn energy through exercise. And once you burn a certain amount through exercise, and studies show it's around 800 active calories per day. That includes all of your walking, your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your exercise. So 800 calories is really not that much for a day. You stop burning calories overall, and your body will borrow from other energy expending processes like mental processing, digestion, inflammation, things like that to keep you within this narrow window. So just trying to exercise to burn calories really it's just not the best use of your time, and it'll burn you out for really no reason, which just blew my mind. I was like, okay, then I'm going to stop worrying about calories at all.
Right.
And I'm just going to focus on muscle in my workouts.
Wow. Okay. That's such good advice. Cause I'm sure a lot of people listening like didn't know that.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I didn't know
People
that
still
until
don't
recently.
believe me. Yeah.
Really?
But for anyone, look up constrained total energy expenditure model and read the studies. It's fascinating.
I'm going to like re-dive into that because it is really interesting. Good. Also too, like I have like friends that are athletes, like the amount that they eat too. You know what I mean? Like what would you say to that for like these athletes that are eating like that are females, like 3,000 plus calories a day.
Their lean mass is probably insane. And that will have an effect on your total energy expenditure for the day.
Because that burns more than just like body fat.
Yeah. So it's so fascinating. They don't really understand. There's a correlation between lean mass and metabolism. And it doesn't really make sense if you look at it, because muscle burns, I want to say it's like 6 to 8 calories or 6 to 10 calories per pound per day. That's not a lot. 1 pound. 1 pound of muscle burns an additional 6 to 8 calories per day, 6 to 10. So it's really not that much if we're just looking at resting metabolic rate. But if we look at athletes who have a ton of muscle, they are burning a lot more on average
That makes so much
than
sense.
someone who doesn't. So what is it? My guess is that it could be their systems are a lot more efficient in general. Like it's the metabolic, effect that it has. It's not just resting metabolic rate. There's something else to it.
Yeah, there's so many different factors.
I think we have yet to find out.
Right. More studies will probably be coming.
Yes.
Okay. So you just have so much going on. Again, the fact that you're pregnant here talking with me today, thank you so much. But just everything that you put on social media, your app, like what's next for you? What's your focus moving forward?
What's next? Well, we've got a lot of changes coming to the app, which I'm really excited about. I hopefully am writing a book.
Oh,
so
my
that's hopefully
gosh.
going to start happening.
Amazing.
I've been like dying to do this forever. And lots of exciting things coming up on the horizon that I can't like fully disclose.
Sure. Yeah. But that's exciting about the book. Again, like I told you earlier, I just like love all the like knowledge and insight and like scientific backed facts that you bring. So I think being able to put that in a book is going to be so amazing.
That's my
for people to be
goal.
like able to go and like just learn more from.
My goal is to help people really change their mindset around
Yes.
exercise and work smarter, not harder.
I love that. Okay, I have one last question for you, and then if you're up for a little game.
I'm up for it. I'm excited.
Okay, so something I always ask all of my guests is what empowerment means to them.
Empowerment for me, the most empowered I've felt is taking personal responsibility for every thought, feeling, action that I have in my life. I think when I spent most of my life blaming everybody else for bad things that would happen to me. And when I took personal responsibility of like, what can I do in this situation to change my thoughts, to be a kinder person, to be a better person, to be more generous, I felt more empowered than ever. So I think personal responsibility really changed my life.
Oh, that's such a, I don't think I've like heard that one yet from anyone.
Good.
That's great.
I was
Like,
thinking about that this morning, actually. So it's funny that you.
no, I love that so much. But yeah, like just like taking ownership.
Yes.
Within
Owning
your own
owning
life.
it all. Owning it all.
Like
Yeah.
the good, bad, the ugly. Okay, so let's play the game. All right, so love it or leave it.
Okay.
Walking after meals.
Love it.
Okay.
Try to do it every night if I
I'm,
can.
like, such a believer in that.
It's so hot in Austin.
Oh yeah, I know. I got here off the plane and was like,
Yeah.
so humid.
Yeah, I know. It's so, but I love it. I
So if
try
you
to
have a
do it at
walking
night.
pad inside, that might be better
Yeah.
right now if you're in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
Magnesium.
I don't take it. Yeah, but I would.
Yeah.
I've heard great
Like,
things.
not against it.
Yeah, I've heard great things.
Sauna and cold plunge.
I don't do it, but I mean, the science is there. It seems like,
Yeah.
but I don't.
Are you just, is it like a time factor for you or just like you don't?
It's like
have one near you,
sauna. I can't. I don't think I could do either while pregnant. But cold plunging, it's so hard.
It's
like,
so hard.
I'm like
I could sit in the sauna. Like I love being
sauna.
hot, like and sweating. So I'm like, I could sleep in it, but cold plunge is hard.
I know,
Like-
and I know the benefits are there.
I mean, great benefits.
Someday I'll do it.
Yeah. But like, I know there's like so much topics on this too around like how cold it should be for women and how long in duration. Like there's obviously like some benefits there, but
Yeah.
not for everybody.
No. And it's a cherry on top kind of thing, right? Like if you
Yes.
get your diet and exercise right, like you're getting
It's
yourself
just like another
nine.
wellness like plus that you can add.
It's a
to the mix.
bonus.
Waist trainers.
Leave.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah. Leave. What is it doing? Like I don't think it's physically doing anything, and I think it could actually be not great for your pelvic floor because it's pulling everything.
I never thought
in,
about it
so
from that, but like pushing down,
pressure
right?
down. Yeah, that pressure has to go somewhere. So if it's going down on your pelvic floor, it's not great.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
Meal prepping.
Love it, but I wish I did it more often. I'm not gonna lie, I don't
I
do
feel
it that
like
often.
that's like the answer for us all. I'm like, yes, ideally it would be great, but
yeah, I need
time.
someone to just come to my house and do it for me.
yes, that's when like the meal prep services are so.
I know. Anybody in Austin want to come to my house and cook for me every Sunday?
I'm sure there's some great services here. All right, HIIT training.
Love it in the right doses.
Okay, and what would you recommend for somebody that like does it every day? Like if they're listening right now, what would you say?
True HIIT training is all out intensity. So it should not be done every day because it requires recovery. So twice a week max, short duration, 15 minutes interval training. You don't need a lot.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah,
I only
less
do like
is
2
more.
times a week.
That's
like some
great.
sprints and like my body. I used to not be that way, but my body has responded greatly just from taking it down.
People think if you're doing long sessions every day, you're not actually getting to that high stimulus because you can't physically do that. Like the high stimulus is like a lot on your body, and that's the most potent stimulus.
Yeah.
So
And we
less
even
is more.
talk about like hormones much today, but like
Yeah.
not great for your hormones.
Yeah, right.
All
Crash.
right, matcha.
Oh, I love it. I just went to Japan and I
did you
fell in love with
really?
matcha. Yeah.
It's big there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I bet you had some like really good
Oh yeah. So good.
cups
Love.
of matcha. Mouth tape.
Love it. I was like early on the mouth tape thing. I started mouth taping like years ago.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Because I feel like
and-
it's just picked up like this past year.
I know. I'm seeing it
So
everywhere.
you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, there's this book called Breath by Jason Nestor, and he talks about mouth tape, and it's all about like your jaw. Fascinating book. It's all about how we don't chew enough and like our jaw and our sinuses and we're not breathing properly and it affects our health.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
mouth tape, but I
Yeah.
do love it.
Yeah. I try to do it almost every night because I was like a mouth breather. So I would like wake up in the middle of the night, disrupt sleep, have like the dry, like cotton mouth. But yeah, there's so much science when it comes to like jaw structure and development and everything.
It's and breathing through your nose is crucial.
Yeah. I love
I
that.
probably should. I should start doing it again.
Detox teas.
Leave.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We know. We know.
Enough said.
Yes.
Yeah. Epsom salt baths.
I don't think I've ever taken an Epsom salt bath, but
Really?
I would. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good too. Like,
But I
while
would.
pregnant too. Like, so I am like
Yeah.
such a believer just when it comes to like Epsom salt bath, magnesium, like recovery, muscle. But yeah, you should try it.
I need to. Yeah, I need to.
Not getting enough protein in.
Leave.
Yeah,
It will change your life.
I agree.
Just do it.
I agree. Laberg.
I like it, but I'm one of those people that likes the data.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everybody needs it.
Yeah.
I think people can get like overly obsessive about it.
Especially
So I'm in
depending
the
on like
middle.
how often.
Yeah. I'm in the middle there.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
It's a good neutral.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so those are some good ones. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like I could just talk to you for hours. You just have so much insight, so much knowledge. So thank you. And you really are like such an inspiration. Like everything you're doing. First off, I'm like, how are you keeping up with everything?
I have a lot of help. I have a lot of help.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of help.
it's helpful. To
My
have a good
employees
team.
are incredible. So that's huge. My husband's incredible.
Is he in the wellness space?
He works for Evlo now.
Oh,
So
my
he was a
gosh.
consultant. He worked in consulting for years. And then once Liv was born, he came to work for me. And he's loving it. Like he's so good. He offers a totally different, he's behind the scenes.
How do
You'll
you?
never
I was
see
about to
him.
say, like, how do you do working with your significant other?
Oh, we love, because he has been a consumer of Evlo for years. He's been doing Evlo religiously for years.
Wow.
And so he fully understands it. He could write all the copy. Like he wrote our website copy. He does that. Like, and he does all of our advertising now. So he's really good. I mean, it's like having my own little consultant.
I love
it's
that.
great. And,
And I'm sure if you have a question, you're just like, honey, like right
totally,
around the corner.
totally. I'm like, I
Yeah.
give him things and he's like, yeah, I'm on it. Like,
amazing.
and he believes in Evlo so much. So he's like, he's loving working for us. It's great. And it's great for our family too, because there's flexibility and things like that.
No, I completely agree. That's so nice to have that. Tell us where people can find more about everything you have going on, your app, Evlo,
Yes.
and more.
So Dr. Shannon DPT, I do a lot of educational posts on there, is my Instagram. And then Evlo Instagram, Evlo Fitness, evlofitness.com. We have a 14-day free trial that they can try out. And my podcast is The Dr. Shannon Show.
Which is so good. If you guys have not listened, go check it out. I mean, you just offer so much on there. So
Thank you.
it's really good.
Thank you. I do put a ton of effort into each episode. So my hope is that helps back up a lot of the things we even talked about today.
Absolutely. I feel like each episode is like a little book within itself. So I'm excited
thank
for the book that
you.
you're going to produce in the future.
That means a lot. That means a lot. Well, thank you for you're so easy to talk to. Like,
oh, good.
I know. I feel like I'm just chatting with a friend. I could do this all day.
Well, that's my goal. Is like, I personally, like selfishly just want to learn more from you, but like, I know my listeners are going to be as well. So it's
yay.
I try to approach every podcast that way of just like, what can I learn that my listeners would like to learn too?
And that's how I know your podcast is going to continue to be amazing.
Well, having guests like you, I'll make it easier. So thank you for everything. And thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.